Faith doesn't always take you out of the problem. Faith takes you through the problem. Faith doesn't always take away the pain. Faith gives you the ability to handle the pains. Faith doesn't always take you out of the storm. Faith calms you in the midst of the storm. Amen.
Okay, we need a motion for minutes for October 22nd and 29th.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for agenda item 1, 2, and 3.
Second?
Mr. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good, how are you all?
Good.
Excellent. Okay, today's financials include a supplemental from JFS and their Public Assistance Fund to true up their salary and hospitalization accounts for year end. Among the cash transfers is a cash transfer from the general fund to the Department of Emergency Services for their per capita subdivision receipts and sales tax operational stipend. And also a cash transfer from the general fund to the Computer Equipment Improvements Fund to provide the funding that was requested, the balance of their funding that was requested for 2024. Among the encumbrances is a travel encumbrance from the engineer's office to attend the CEAO conference in December, and a purchase order from the maintenance department to CP Consultants Incorporated for design services related to the Safety Center parking lot repaving project. Among the vouchers is $29,855 from Aging to Junction Buick GMC for a 2024 GMC Terrain. This vehicle is in addition to their fleet and is being used to facilitate shore and home safety services. $232,355.35 from the engineers to Frontline Road Safety Operations LLC for the application of polyester pavement markings to various roads. And finally, $30,500 from the Sheriff's Office to Flock Group Incorporated for license plate recognition cameras, camera service for 10 poles.
Okay, good. Adrian, could you review the Computer Equipment Improvement Fund with me? Just you know what the overall status of that is?
Right, so initially they had requested about $825,000 from the general fund in order to provide the funding for the various projects that they had for this year.
Mm-hmm.
We did last year remove about $350,000 initially in equipment requests.
Mm-hmm.
At the Budget Commission last year for the 2024 budget, they did increase the appropriations, or the available appropriations last year, and required us to provide the equipment money that had been taken out of funds outside the general fund to be reinstated and transferred. So that $350,000 was transferred to them last year. And now this is the $475,000 that was remaining from their initial request for this year. They are starting to run low on cash in the Computer Equipment Improvements Fund and the various contracts and stuff that they have outstanding, which are going to be coming due for payment. They would not have enough cash to pay for those. So this is just the balance of their budgeted request that we had approved.
Okay. And I'm sorry, did I hear you say that they required you to move money from the Budget Commission, required the Commissioner's Office to move money from what to what?
During the discussions last year in regards to the budget for this year, for 2024, frequently some of these things that get trimmed from the budget in order to balance it for the coming year can be provided in the before the end of the current year for the next year, or as a supplemental in
Right.
2024.
Right.
So in this case, they took the option to allow us to certify sufficient money to provide for those equipment requests before the end of last year. This is just the balance of that amount.
Gotcha. And how much are we talking about today?
It is $475,000. And this funds things like gatekeeper, disaster recovery, off-site backup, Tyler, New World, CrowdStrike, the various contracts that they
Okay.
have, so.
Okay. Thank you.
We have a motion to approve financials.
I'll make a motion to approve the financials.
Second?
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyle?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm with the engineer's office, and I'm here for action item 5 on today's agenda. County Engineer's Office is requesting the board approve and execute change order number 1, increasing the contract with Ohio Bridge Corporation for the replacement of the Robinson Road Bridge in Chardon Township in the amount of $41,291.83.
Great. So moved?
Second?
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyle?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Where do I get one of those hats? I've been asking for a while.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We're here for items number 6 through 11. These are the annual snow and ice permits that we have in 6 in the township. 3 of them are Chester, Russell, Cambridge on the western side that plow our county roads, and then the 3 eastern townships, Troy, not Rome, Clarendon.
You do this every year, huh?
Yeah. And I know you guys had a little bump in the road, but you got an item out this year. With the appropriation or something, or what is it?
Yeah, so we have to, because we're paying 3 of the townships, we have to have that, those funds certified.
Mm.
So that was just a step that we didn't do, so we got that taken care
Got
of.
it all straightened out?
Yes.
Okay, good. Very good. Do you want to do these one at a time, or do you want to do them all together, or? how do you- Okay. We'll do them one at a time, I guess. So the first one is for Bainbridge.
Correct.
I'll make a motion for agenda item number 6.
Second?
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyle?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
And the next one's for Chester Township. Make a motion.
Second?
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyle?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Number 8 is for Clarendon Township. I'll make that motion.
Second?
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyle?
Yes.
And number 9 is for Montville Township. I'll make that motion.
Second?
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyle?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
And then 10 is for Russell Township. So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyle?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Okay, and the last one is for Troy Township. I'll make that motion.
Second?
Commissioner Lennon?
Aye.
Commissioner Boyle?
You could have run them all.
Commissioner Boyle?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. Supposed to snow Thursday, maybe.
It is, doesn't it? Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
So I'm here today, we received our grant award from the Western Reserve Area Agency on Aging for the Older Americans Act services that we provide in the amount of $568,000 for 2025, January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025, and they will be funding our social services, transportation for our Alva County Medical, transportation to adult day services, some of the health classes taught at our senior centers, and adult day services.
Great. And those services are on demand, is that how that works?
Yes, we get reimbursement. Once we provide the amount of units for each month, we go Western Reserve, and then they provide us reimbursement for the services rendered.
Great. Okay, so moved.
Second?
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyle?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
How are you?
Here to ask permission to advertise for our multi-certified floor inspector. This will get our department back to pre-pandemic staffing levels of 1 commissioner, 1 assistant, and 2 inspectors.
Very good. I know we've talked about this for a while, and this is definitely a sorely needed position. It's difficult to find somebody ready to go at this spot.
Yeah, we've been obviously trying to recruit as well, and there's some, hopefully a couple potential candidates that would be interested coming this way, so we'd like to get this back open so that they can apply and
Very good.
go through that process.
Yep. Hopefully we'll get this going quickly. I will make a motion to approve.
Second?
Commissioner Lennon?
Aye.
Commissioner Whitmore?
Yes.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Morning, Roger.
Morning.
Number 14 is one of the requirements that we have to do for getting a signature. And the reason behind this is the state of Ohio was going to grant us money to hire a consultant to rewrite one of our emergency response plans. And I told them that we have an in-house planner, and instead of hiring a consultant, we want to get reimbursed for his time.
Okay.
So basically, in a nutshell, number 14 will allow me to submit reimbursal to the state of Ohio for our own department to write our plan, and it's somewhere in the tune of about $20,000.
Okay.
So it's going to be a nice little infusion for something that we do annually.
Absolutely. How often do you have to rewrite that plan?
So there's different plans that require different, like our emergency response plan is an annual, our hazmat is an annual, our mitigation plan is in every 5 years, and this is part of the mitigation plan.
So this one's every 5 years?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Pretty good. And do you foresee a change in much, or is it kind of?
I don't see much of a change at all. We are going to, as part of the natural hazard mitigation plan, we have to review weather, we have to review natural incidents, and then build that into the plans. But it's going to be pretty much not a big heavy lift.
Gotcha.
So,
Very good. Okay, that sounds great. Appreciate you catching that. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Whitmore?
Yes.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Morning.
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 How are you?
Good, how are you? Good, good. Good. All right, I've got 15 and 16. First up, we are replacing the generator in the annex. We have to go out to bid for it. That thing is older than me, and it's got about a 12-month lead time. So we're getting started now, so hopefully we'll see it by the end of next year.
Okay. And that would run the entire building or anything else up there? What does that run?
It runs exclusively the annex building in its entirety. The opera house is not included. It's a
Okay.
separate year for that.
Great. All right, I'll make that motion.
Second?
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Whitmore?
Yes.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
And then number 16, we're replacing the batteries at the safety center and emergency services. That'll be completed within 60 days of November 19th, in an amount not to exceed $61,478.
And these are batteries for the, what is this?
UPS units. It's a pretty standard upgrade every 5 years.
Okay, yep. All right, I'll make that motion.
Second?
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Whitmore?
Yes.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Good. Good.
Oh, well, thank you to the commissioners for having this time today. As you know from our filing, the court is looking to address its representation pursuant to sections 30909 and 30514 of the revised code under 30909, as an officer and county employee, I'm entitled to defense in any action. In the case, the statute says any action. There's no exception for any disciplinary actions, it's for any action. And I'm entitled to be represented by the prosecutor. However, in this case, that's not possible because he's conflicted, because he testified against me in these proceedings, amongst other things. And so it drops into 305.14, which is where the commissioners then can apply, without the county prosecutor's assistance, for me and the court to have counsel in the matters that bring us here this morning. The really two requests. One is for retention of Retzel Andrus and Mr. Funk for the filing of the objections in the Supreme Court phase of these proceedings, and that's where we are. We're not finished. We're still in the process. And you're well aware of Mr. Funk. He's represented this court and these commissioners, I believe, in past activities. And he would like to cap himself out at $25,000 because of the complexity of the case. The second part is, this is a unique situation. When these matters arise, the Supreme Court initially takes control of the representation of the judge, and they have a contract with the Johnson Law Firm, and they do a certain amount, and you're pretty much in that process until you get to the Supreme Court process, which then allows me to ask for this separate counsel. Mr. Funk is a specialist in Supreme Court proceedings, and that's why it's more appropriate to have him handle that aspect of the proceedings. But we are looking to have Mr. Funk appointed, and secondly, for a supplemental so that we can address the bills that the Johnson firm has that are addressed to the Geauga County Common Pleas Court. They're not addressed to me, they're addressed to the Geauga County Common Pleas Court, and we would like to be able to sit down with them and certainly resolve the situation at a far lower number than they're requesting, because we think there's multiple reasons why that needs to be adjusted. But those are the two requests the courts, I'm making this on behalf of the court this morning.
So the two portions, I understand they're two separate requests. The first, the supplemental, the 300,000 roughly, that was for work that's already been done, correct? Yeah. And that money was, so it's kind of like our insurance, but it's a little different. But when you go to the Supreme Court, they'll cover up to a certain amount, is that correct? And how much is that, do you know?
I believe it's $10,000
That's
per
it?
complaint.
Per complaint.
Per count.
Okay. So once we hit that threshold, then was it typical not to, that the county would then be the ones that would have to be paying after that?
Well, the Montgomery Johnson firm has been doing this for 35 years, pretty much exclusively representing judges in these matters.
Mm-hmm.
And their bills are addressed to the Geauga County Common Pleas Court. That's
So
not to me personally, but to the court.
So have they been sending bills over the last?
Off and on, but we finally got them all during the course of getting prepared for this request.
Because there's two sides of this coin, because we were seeing the other side of the coin frequently with requests for outside counsel to represent all those who were made to testify. So we were seeing, we had to approve that outside counsel. So we did see the amounts and everything on that. This side of it, we were, as far as the commissioners or the county was concerned, weren't included in that. So we never got to see we didn't see any invoicing.
We'll be glad to provide the invoices.
Yeah.
They're going to have to be redacted for certain client issues.
Yeah.
We'll be glad to provide a full set of invoices to the court.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I would like to work with Mr. Morgan in Montgomery Firm to knock this down. I think there's a lot of room for movement here. But that's going to need a face-to-face, and if Mr. Morgan was available to do that, I think that would help bring this down considerably.
Yeah. And just to be clear, when was that work all performed? That, it started when? And it's up to when?
I'm gonna say September of, well, these matters are 4 and 5 years old. This actual main portion of this started in, finally it was November of 22, I believe.
22, so it's been going on for a couple of years. And then the second portion, just so I'm clear, so there's been a, I guess, I don't know what other better way, but a opinion made by the Supreme Court Advisory Board or whatever, that, that certain action be taken, but this matter has not been closed as far as the Supreme Court goes?
Right, it's a three-step process. There's some hearings at which we were precluded from calling witnesses, we were precluded from cross-examining some of the witnesses. It was a very interesting proceeding. Then there's a recommendation, and then the disciplinary council makes a recommendation, and that's where we are now. We are, it's not the Supreme Court, these are the handles of the disciplinary council office. And they make recommendations, and then this is where the Supreme Court steps in. You have so many days to file objections to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court is the final and only decision maker in this process. What the Supreme Court will decide will be the decision. Right, but we're entitled to Mr. Funk's expertise when it comes to dealing with the Supreme Court. We've never lost a case in front of the Supreme Court represented by Mr. Funk. He's outstanding in what he does, and he does it reasonably.
Okay. So, just so I'm clear, that this matter has not come to its conclusion yet, so you're still in the middle of...
Briefs have to file, briefs need to be filed, reply briefs get to filing, there'll be an oral argument sometime next spring. If the Hoover decision is any indicator, there was a judge from Akron, from the time they did the oral argument to the time the Supreme Court decided, it was roughly 12 or 13 months.
Okay.
So there's some distance to go before this gets to it.
Okay. And then, you had, and maybe you could elaborate on this for us a little more, but acknowledged a couple sections of the Ohio Revised Code, and you said, since our prosecutor's office would typically represent an elected official in maybe in a case like this, or not?
Well, 30909 says he's the prosecutor's, all of ours, yours, mine, yours, for everything, unless he's conflicted.
Right.
And so if he wasn't conflicted, in theory, he would need counsel, but he's clearly conflicted. In this case, he literally came and testified against me, so that there's no way ethically he can weigh in on this without crossing some ethical line of his own. And that's why there's a case of the U.S. Supreme Court and the Senator case and the General District Trumbull County case, election board case, both pointed out in those circumstances where there's a clear conflict, then U.S. commissioners have the authority to make the application for counsel without having to get his approval, his sign off, or however he wanted to see that.
Okay. And then you said Mr. Funk had put a $25,000 cap on this portion?
I believe in the letter he submitted, he said 20, but this thing is, there's thousands of pages of transcripts.
Yeah, I'm sure.
There's hundreds of exhibits.
Yeah.
So he asked if it could be bumped to 25. That's still very reasonable under the circumstances.
Okay.
And these all happen while I was participating as judge on behalf of the county. I remained on the bench for the 5 years since all this started. I was reelected after all this stuff hit, was publicized highly by the media. And yet, I was reelected, and we're still over there on the bench every day.
I think it would be, Jerry, you had mentioned, getting our own, just legal opinion on those two sections of the Ohio Revised Code, even though they seem pretty straightforward. But it's, how they apply to this particular
Yes, and what I've got from our outside counsel is that under 305.14, that, Ken, is the Ohio Revised Code section that is set up for when there is a conflict. In order for the board to go to the court individually, they still have to make the request of the prosecutor's office, and the prosecutor's office deny doing a joint application.
I assume they're not or not act.
Exactly.
They can't sit on their hands, so, I mean, just so you're well aware, the briefs are due. I mean, Mr. Funk will have filed the brief by the time you folks get here, so I don't want anybody to be confused about that. And the line's hard and fast, there's no
Sure.
leeway for that.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess my only question, or I guess, kind of concern would have been too about that, the portion of the work that was being performed over those last couple of years. I'm just surprised that there was no, even from the law firm, that they did not reach out to either the court or to us to say, look, where's the rest of this, money? Because the way I see it, it's work performed, that's money owed. I don't think there's any, argument about that, right? I mean,
Yeah, I will take some responsibility here. I thought they were sending copies of the bills to the county as well to the court. And frankly, when I managed to get all this pulled together, I had not noticed initially that the bills were to the Geauga County Police Court.
Is that typical? Or is that,
I don't know, I guess the only time, this is the only time I've had one of these, and the
Right.
only time I hope to have one of these, so I can't tell you
Yeah.
what's typical, because I have no other.
because I would think it would come to the county commissioners, since they're the ones that are paying bills, but, we can maybe follow up with, do you have contacts that we can ask those questions down in Columbus, about that billing process and
Yeah,
why they were sending it to the court?
Absolutely. I'm glad to share that with you.
Okay, that'd be helpful, I think, to understand that.
And I really do think if we're going down this path, we need to have a meeting with those people and get a reasonable number on the table.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds as though that those bills are old and they need to be gone over and reviewed and certified and made sure that those are appropriate, that dollar amount.
We agree.
Yeah. That's all I got.
Well, put yourself in a commissioner's seat. We would, fielding a lot of phone calls, probably got 100 phone calls on this issue. And a lot of them are referring to an article from the Geauga Times-Courier. And after listening to it on the phone as many times as I did, I jot down what was said. But Geauga Times-Courier, July 11th, 2024, volume 28, number 17. The caption reads, "Disciplinary Council wants Grindell suspended." Now, at the very end, there's a quote. It is about money and bills, but the quote is, "After a certain amount, the responder pays for the remainder personally," said Judge Grindell's court administrator, Kim Laurie. And so that's what's being repeated over and over and over from the public to me. And when you tell the public that it falls under, in this case, the judge personally, then that's what is understood. That's what's understood.
In all due respect, Commissioner, the law is the law. I don't know if that the newspaper has misrepresented things in this matter for the last 5 years, so I'm not even going to address all that. But I don't believe that Ms. Laurie is a lawyer. I believe that statement will be incorrect as a matter of law, and you can have that checked with the counsel that you're going to get an opinion from. And I hope we're not making decisions based on misinformation published in the newspapers, or this county is in serious trouble. And I think Ms. Laurie would like to address that.
Yeah, so that was very early on in the process, and like the judge explained, we've never gone through this before. Those invoices were actually being sent to his personal email address, which is the reason that he didn't even notice until more recently that the invoices themselves were even addressed to the court. And so at the time, I don't know when that was, it could be a couple years ago by now, when I made that statement, that was our legitimate belief that was the process, but we've never been through this before. He's obviously done research since then, and he's, taken a look at the law, he's talked to other judges that have been through the process, and so now we know, that that statement was incorrect.
Okay. You got any questions? Or?
No, I mean, I think that we just need to look at this and see, what exactly we're responsible for. And, just ask to kind of get some opinion on this and see exactly what we're required to do and what we're not.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have to, because of the conflict, I would imagine, we'll have to get outside counsel to review that request from us too, I would imagine, or use our outside counsel.
Use our outside counsel.
Yeah.
All I request is that we follow the law.
Yeah.
And not the court of public opinion.
Yeah.
Which has misleaded so many things over the last 2 years.
Yeah, I certainly would not be using local newspapers for reference, that's for sure.
So as far as the process for the appeal, and is that already in process then?
Yeah, the briefs are filed, the disciplinary council briefs are due 2 days before Christmas. Oral argument will be sometime in the spring, and then who knows, after that, some point a decision will come out.
So we're still, knee deep in
We're
this.
still in the knee deep in the process, and the finish line is come to the Supreme Court.
Okay.
Then there's a turnover of 2 judges on the Supreme Court, as you know, in this election. So there's going to be 2 new judges on the court. I don't know if that's going to slow it down or not, I don't know. But I would assume there's going to be some startup time required with the new judges on the Supreme Court. So.
Yeah.
But we don't have any say in this process, we just do what the Supreme Court tells us on this one.
Sure.
But no decision has been made. Contrary to everything the news media has published, I haven't been suspended. They don't have the power to suspend, only the Supreme Court has the power to suspend. And I sit on the bench every day.
Great.
I guess the unfortunate situation with this whole thing is this is a multitude of things. It's not just one thing. That would be easy kind of to look at that and say it's just one thing, right?
Well, it's interesting, Commissioner. By the way, it was 4 things, and in the middle of all this, they dropped one thing. They dropped the Page matter after we spent a good amount of time and money defending it. Suddenly they woke up one day and decided to drop it, which was good because it was baseless. The first matter, if we will provide copies of the briefs to the commissioners. If the brief from Mr. Funk lays it out. Everything I did in the first matter was in accordance with the statute and the opinions of the 11th District Court of Appeals. As you well know, in the second matter, my court there were charges being filed against my staff with the state auditor of alleged criminal misconduct. 2 of my staff were charged with criminal misconduct and went to a jury trial in the Chardon Municipal Court. The charges against Ms. Laurie were thrown out by Judge Burt for want of evidence, and the charges against Mr. Miller were tossed out by the jury in about the time it takes to make a pot of coffee. And so all I was doing was trying to defend my court against all this malicious stuff so that the public would still have confidence in the court. I mean, what kind of confidence would the public have if staff being arrested and charged with crimes and somebody didn't speak up and bring them aware of the facts of the situation, not that the media was misreporting? And the last matter, if you didn't think COVID affected courts as it affected the commissioners, I don't understand. I basically talked about the need for more information being published on COVID, so we're not just giving the cumulative death counts, which are very scary, but you also give the daily death counts, because if you say 5,000 people have died, that sounds bad. If you say 5,000 people have died over the last 6 months and 3 people died yesterday, that's a different story. And so I testified that to keep the courts functioning, we have problems with juries, people that want to serve jury duty. We had people that want to come into the court that I felt if you're going to publish data, the state needed to give all the data and not be selective in data. Those are 3 unique, unrelated incidences, but I do grant, Commissioner, there's 3 incidences. But what's the motivation behind it? That's another whole question. 2 of those were clearly politically motivated. One was a disgruntled litigant.
Yeah, and I think the argument at hand on the one was found to be from the state auditor to be wrong on its face on every level as far as what the argument was originally about, correct?
Right, there were 6 charges, allegations of criminal misconduct by the court's finance staff. The state auditor, after we spent a lot of time and effort The state auditor found all 6 to be unsubstantiated and tossed them. Then we had the 2 criminal charges filed against Ms. Lori and Mr. Miller. And then we had the criminal charge filed against the constable up in Ashtabula County for simply doing his job. And that was thrown out by the judge under Rule 29 for want of evidence. And then we've been paying, all our bills have been getting paid on the protest, as you well know.
Right.
The auditor, state auditor, just came out on the 2022 audit and pointed out that none of those protests had any value to them, any basis to them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's been interesting trying to keep the court going and keeping public confidence in the court and keeping the court financially functioning in the face of all these baseless allegations. But we've attempted to try to deal with that, and unfortunately, some people, when they couldn't get me when they couldn't beat me at the election in 2020, next thing you know, all of a sudden, disciplinary filings are being filed against me by certain people who had attempted to keep me in the primary that year. And we've been dealing with that ever since.
So do you know who filed those against the court? Do you know who filed all those?
Yeah, one was a disgruntled litigant, the other one's contact to other departments of Geauga County on the other day. And those folks came and testified against me, including the auditor and the prosecutor.
Well, I think this is a lot to.
Oh, I'm not asking for a decision, I'm just trying to get this on
I
the table
appreciate
for you.
it, and I'm gonna keep continually researching this.
Yeah.
And we can see where we're at.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like I was fairly clear on what, on the one portion and then this new request as well, so. But, we'll just double check that with legal counsel and that we're all in agreement.
Thank you all for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, the next item is the contract for the wayfaring signs out on the road and for all the individual departments around this area. This will contract with building signs.
I'm sorry, this is for what? For out front?
Yeah, for the road signs, directional signs.
Yeah.
All these departments do this.
Individual departments.
Yeah.
10 or 11 signs.
Oh, good, good. What about putting some signs out on 44?
This is,
Okay.
the signs there'll be signs on either end of Ravenwood.
Yeah.
One at Aquila, one at 44.
Okay.
One at 44 in Merritt, and then one right here at Merritt and Ravenwood.
So are we gonna just do normal, like street signs, or are you guys gonna do
No,
like
they're
a real,
actually
like a real?
similar signs to like the
University
signs
Hospital? Okay, good, good,
They
yeah,
are really sharp.
good, because there's been a lot,
Those are.
yeah, people like, looking around, not finding their lost. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, great, I'll make that motion.
Second?
Yes.
Yes.
Item 19 deals with the dissolution of the Aquila Village. With that, the voters at this last election voted to basically eliminate Aquila Village. So now it's got to revert back. As part of that, there's a transition supervisory board that needs to be put together per the Ohio Revised Code. And one of the individuals on that supervisory board needs to be a commissioner. So asking the board to decide who wants to be on that board and appoint it.
Make a motion for Jim.
I'll second that. Is there anyone from Aquila here today, or not?
I don't think so. This was really an internal thing.
Okay.
Commissioner Warren?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier?
The next item deals with the airport properties with the consolidation. There's a fee that would occur with that, but with the fee, if the commissioners approve the DTE 100 EX forms, asking for that approval today, then there's no contingency associated with it.
Okay, so, second.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Sorry, that was for the person who will sign that form.
Yeah. So they didn't say, all right, they're going to come to own
It'll be
town.
absorbed.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's good.
The next two came as a request from the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland. They're having their annual meeting next Monday for their 119th year. And they are honoring Judge Terry Subica for her volunteer time and Bainbridge Township resident Kimberly Barnett Mills. So they've asked you to do a resolution recognizing their work that they'd like to give them next week.
Okay, I'll make a motion on behalf of Judge Terry Stopika.
Second?
Commissioner Levin?
Yes.
Commissioner DeBoer?
Yes.
Just the right.
And then I'll make a motion on behalf of Kimberly Barnett Mills.
That's number 22. Yes.
Yeah. I second the motion on item 22.
Wait, it's on the record.
Commissioner Levin?
Yes.
Commissioner DeBoer?
Yes.
Commissioner Spillier? I just want to explain, this is the really signed
A
contract.
lot of stickies.
When you look at it, there's lines on both sides, and each one of you has to initial on each set of lines on multiple contracts in multiple places.
Which one's that for?
That's the signed contract.
Oh.
Due to some changes that were made back and forth,
Okay.
just lots of places to sign. And that's all it is this afternoon. There's lots of places to initial. You can take it.
Just all of us?
All of you have to initial it and sign. So I waited until last, you guys split it. And some of them are on one side, some of them are on both sides.
There's more good than behind ours.
Wouldn't this have just been rewritten? This is all this stuff that's over here. This is more complicated than Donald Trump's law. All right, any questions, anybody? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Gail Rusi with Women Voters. I had two things. The first, did you appoint someone under 19 to that transition, or is that just to be determined?
Commissioner DeBoer.
Okay, sorry. And then my other question was, what was the name of the law firm in Columbus that had submitted the $300,000 bill?
I think it was Dan Long. No, I'm just kidding.
Was
He's,
there a name?
Johnson Montgomery.
Johnson Montgomery.
Yeah.
Okay, nothing else?
This guy's a real character.
All right, motion to adjourn?